You ever notice how some women just age differently? Not because they're chasing youth, not because they're trying to be 20 again, but because something about them still turns heads without them even trying. They walk into a room, and there's this quiet confidence, this energy that says, I know who I am, and I'm good with it. That's real beauty. That's timeless attraction. And today, I want to break down 12 signs you're a good-looking older woman, not by society's standards, but by the kind of beauty that can't fade, no matter what the mirror says. You can always tell when a woman's not trying to prove anything anymore. There's something about the way she carries herself. It's quiet, steady, and sure. She's not standing taller because she wants to be seen. She's standing taller because she's comfortable in her own skin. And that's what makes her magnetic. See, when you've lived enough life, you start realizing that confidence isn't about being the loudest person in the room or having everyone's eyes on you. It's about knowing your worth without needing anyone to confirm it for you. You stop chasing validation and you start living from a place of peace. And that kind of confidence, it's rare. It's what people feel before they even notice what you're wearing. You don't compare yourself to younger women because you remember what that stage felt like. Always trying to measure up, to fit in, to be chosen. But now you've learned something deeper. You don't need to be chosen. You choose yourself. That changes everything. You walk differently. You speak differently. You smile differently. Because when you stop competing, you start glowing. And that glow doesn't come from a product, it comes from peace. It's the kind of beauty that can't be edited or filtered. It's felt in your energy. When a woman lets go of comparison, she unlocks freedom. Freedom from the pressure of perfection. Freedom from the noise of should. She starts showing up for herself instead of showing off for others. That's when real confidence starts to settle in, not the kind that shouts, look at me, but the kind that whispers, I'm good. It's quiet, but powerful. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. And here's what's interesting, people feel that before they even see it. They sense that peace. They sense that self-assurance. You could be wearing something simple, minimal makeup, no need for attention, and yet you'll turn heads. Not because you're trying to be noticed, but because you've mastered the art of presence. You carry a confidence that says, I know who I am, and that's something that doesn't fade with time, it deepens. Confidence at this stage of life doesn't come from the mirror, it comes from memory, from everything you've survived, from everything you've built, from every storm you've stood through and still came out standing. It's earned, not applied, and that kind of confidence changes how you move through the world. You don't need to be the most beautiful woman in the room. You just need to be the most you. And that authenticity outshines everything else. You've learned that comparison steals joy, and you've stopped renting your peace to other people's opinions. You understand that every woman is on her own timeline, her own journey, her own kind of beautiful. So instead of competing, you start appreciating. You can look at another woman and genuinely think she's beautiful, without it taking away from your own light. That's the kind of woman who glows differently. That's the kind of beauty that stays. Because at the end of the day, being good looking isn't just about what the world sees. It's about what you believe about yourself. When you walk through life with grace, gratitude, and grounded confidence, you become the kind of woman that people don't just look at, they remember. And that's the thing. Real beauty doesn't beg to be seen. It quietly reminds everyone around it what strength and self-respect look like. There's a certain power in subtlety, a kind of beauty that doesn't need to announce itself. When a woman reaches a place in her life where she understands that less really can be more, everything about her starts to shift. She doesn't dress to impress anymore, she dresses to express. Her choices become intentional, not impulsive. She knows the difference between attention and admiration, and she doesn't confuse the two. You see, when you've lived long enough to understand yourself, you stop needing to prove your worth through what you wear, how much you reveal, or how loudly you speak. Instead, you let your energy do the talking. That's the thing about a good-looking older woman. She's mastered restraint. She doesn't chase trends or attention because she knows both fade fast. Her beauty lies in the quiet details, the way she wears her confidence, the calm in her tone, the grace in her movements. It's like she carries her story with elegance, not explanation. She doesn't need to show everything to be seen. She doesn't need to talk over anyone to be heard. Her presence has depth because she's learned that mystery is more magnetic than exposure. Subtlety is an art form. It's knowing when to speak and when silence will say more. It's smiling just enough to invite curiosity, not to demand interest. It's how she maintains eye contact, not to challenge, but to connect. There's warmth there, but also wisdom. She's seen enough life to know that real attraction isn't about overwhelming the room. It's about drawing people in quietly, effortlessly. That kind of magnetism can't be faked. It comes from inner balance. And you know what's interesting? That subtlety, it's confidence disguised as calm. It's the kind of confidence that doesn't need to perform. A younger version of herself might have thought beauty meant standing out. Now she knows it means standing sure. She's learned that sometimes the loudest statement you can make is through composure. When she walks into a room, she doesn't take the spotlight. She becomes the atmosphere. That's what subtlety does. It doesn't demand space, it fills it quietly. People start to notice things about her that aren't obvious. The way she listens with her eyes. The way her laughter feels real, not rehearsed. The way she seems comfortable in stillness. That's not something you can learn from a magazine or a makeover. It's something time teaches you when you've made peace with who you are. Because subtlety isn't about holding back. It's about knowing you don't need to give everything away to be valued. And that's what makes her beautiful. She's not trying to outshine anyone. She's just being. Her fragrance, her style, her words, all carry a sense of intention. Nothing about her feels rushed or forced. She's not chasing moments, she's creating them. That calm awareness she moves with, it's alluring, it's grounding, it's rare. When a woman reaches that level of subtle confidence, she stops trying to impress the world and starts inspiring it instead. Because real beauty doesn't need to shout to be seen, it just needs to show up quietly and consistently. She's proof that grace, when paired with self-assurance, can captivate more than glamour ever could. Because the truth is, subtlety isn't about doing less. It's about knowing your worth so deeply that you don't need to do more. There's something incredibly attractive about a woman who's emotionally steady. She doesn't get pulled into chaos. She doesn't overact to every word. And she doesn't take everything personally. There's a calmness to her, a kind of grace that only comes from experience. It's not that she doesn't feel deeply. It's that she's learned to respond instead of react. She's been through enough in life to understand that peace is something you protect, not something you wait for someone else to give you. And that's what makes her beautiful, not just in how she looks, but in how she makes people feel. When you're around her, you can sense it. There's no tension in her energy, no desperation in her words. She listens more than she speaks, and when she does speak, her words carry weight because they're measured, intentional. That emotional maturity, it's magnetic. It's the difference between someone who's constantly trying to be understood and someone who already understands herself. And when you understand yourself, you don't need to fight for validation. You stop needing to win arguments or prove your worth because you already know it. She's not cold, she's composed. She's not detached, she's discerning. She's learned that not every situation deserves a reaction, and not every person deserves an explanation. That kind of restraint doesn't come easy. It comes from heartbreaks that taught her peace is more valuable than proving a point. From moments where she realized silence can say more than anger ever will. She's built her strength quietly, and that's what people sense when they meet her. It's not that she's emotionless, It's that she's mastered the balance between empathy and boundaries. You see, emotional maturity gives her this inner glow that confidence alone can't replicate. It softens her, but it also strengthens her, because when you can handle your emotions without letting them control you, you move differently. You love differently. You live differently. You stop carrying resentment, you stop seeking revenge, and you stop holding grudges that weigh your spirit down. That freedom makes you radiant. People are drawn to that peace because it's rare. It feels safe. It feels honest. A good, looking older woman understands that beauty is more than skin deep. It's the ability to stay graceful in moments that test you, to stay kind even when it's easier to be cruel, to stay calm when everything around you feels loud. That's what gives her presence depth. That's what makes her stand out in a world where everyone's shouting just to be heard. She's learned to speak softly and still command attention, not because she demands it, but because she's earned it through her composure. And there's something else. She doesn't make other people pay for what someone else did to her. That's emotional growth. She's healed enough to know that holding on to pain only keeps her stuck in the past. Instead, she channels it into wisdom. She's not bitter about her scars. She's grateful for what they taught her. That's self-awareness, that emotional balance. It's rare and it's radiant. So when people call her beautiful, they may not even realize what they're really responding to. It's not just her face, her voice, or her style. It's her peace. It's that emotional steadiness that makes people feel safe around her. Because no matter what life throws her way, she remains anchored. And that's the kind of beauty that doesn't age. It evolves. You can always tell when a woman takes care of herself, not because she's chasing perfection, but because she respects who she's become. There's a difference between doing something out of insecurity and doing it out of self-love. A good-looking older woman doesn't go for walks, eat clean, or take time for herself because she's trying to hold on to youth. She does it because she knows her body, her mind, her energy. They're all part of what makes her feel alive. She understands that caring for herself isn't vanity, it's responsibility. When you reach a certain stage in life, you start realizing that self-care isn't selfish. It's sacred. You stop doing things to impress anyone else, and you start doing them because you've earned the right to feel good. You've carried people, dreams, heartbreaks, and responsibilities on your shoulders for years. You've poured into others, and now, finally, you're learning to pour back into yourself. That glow people see, that lightness in how you move, that's not just from products or routines. It's from the peace that comes with self-respect. She knows how to rest without guilt, how to say no without apology, how to nurture her spirit as much as she nurtures her appearance. She's learned that the way she treats herself teaches others how to treat her. So she doesn't settle for crumbs anymore. She doesn't accept half effort or conditional love. She's done shrinking to make others comfortable. Taking care of herself has become her way of saying, I matter too. And when a woman starts living from that truth, she starts to radiate something that can't be faked. There's something magnetic about a woman who honors her health, her emotional, physical, and mental well-being. You can see it in her posture, in her eyes, in the way she carries herself. She's not desperate for attention because she already gives herself the attention she needs. She doesn't need constant reassurance because she's built her own sense of worth from the inside out. She takes pride in the little things. Her morning coffee, her skincare, her quiet walks. Because she knows those small rituals are acts of gratitude. Gratitude for still being here. Gratitude for her body that's carried her through so much. And that kind of self-care, it's attractive because it's intentional. It's not about chasing some impossible standard, it's about honoring her own. When she walks into a room, she carries that energy of self-respect. She doesn't need to demand attention, it naturally gravitates toward her, because people can always tell when someone's taking care of themselves not for validation, but out of genuine love for life. She doesn't criticize her reflection anymore. She appreciates it. Every line, every curve, every scar tells a story. She's not trying to erase time, she's embracing it, because she knows beauty isn't about looking younger, it's about looking alive. And when you respect yourself enough to nurture that aliveness, it shows. You glow differently, you speak differently, you love differently. And the most beautiful part, she's not chasing approval, she's walking in gratitude. Her routine isn't about appearance, it's about alignment. Her choices come from a place of peace, not pressure. That's what makes her stand out. She's proof that when a woman takes care of herself, not for applause, but for appreciation, she becomes impossible to overlook. Because nothing looks better on a woman than the quiet confidence that comes from self-respect. There's something special about a woman whose presence feels peaceful. She doesn't walk into a room trying to prove herself or control how people see her. She's not performing. She's not putting on a show. She's just being. And that calm, grounded energy, it's magnetic. People feel it before she even says a word. It's the way she listens without rushing to respond, the way she holds herself with quiet assurance. She knows that peace isn't about having a perfect life. It's about how she carries herself through an imperfect one. When you've lived long enough, you realize that chaos will always be around you. But peace, that's something you have to build and protect. A good-looking older woman knows this. She's learned that being reactive, defensive, or always needing to have the last word only drains her spirit. So she's stopped chasing every argument. She's stopped explaining herself to people who are committed to misunderstanding her. She's stopped wasting energy trying to change things that aren't hers to fix. She chooses her peace over her pride, and that decision shows up in everything, from how she speaks, to how she moves, to how she loves. She's not in a rush anymore. She's not caught up in proving she can keep up. She's slowed down enough to enjoy life. The quiet mornings, the simple moments, the small joys, and that calm presence. It draws people in. Because in a world that's loud, impatient, and always trying to outshine, her stillness stands out. She doesn't need to demand attention, her peace commands it. That's what true beauty looks like when it matures. It becomes softer, deeper, more intentional. She's been through enough to know that peace doesn't mean avoiding people. It means not absorbing their chaos. It's knowing when to step back, when to breathe, and when to let things go. There's a wisdom in that stillness. She doesn't match other people's energy, she maintains her own. That's strength disguised as serenity, and you can feel it when she walks into a space. She doesn't bring noise, she brings calm. She makes people feel safe, not because she tries to fix them, but because she's learned to fix herself first. Her beauty is in her composure. She doesn't flinch when someone tries to provoke her. She doesn't let negativity shake her spirit. She knows that not everything deserves a reaction, and not everyone deserves access to her energy. When you've grown into yourself, you start realizing that peace is power. You can be firm without being harsh, confident without being loud, and loving without losing yourself. And that balance, it's rare. It's beautiful. And maybe that's why people notice her without even realizing why. She's not the one trying to be seen, yet her energy fills the room. Because peace doesn't whisper, it radiates. It's in her eyes when she listens, in her smile when she forgives, in her silence when she could have chosen chaos but didn't. She's not performing for the world anymore. She's living in alignment with herself. And that authenticity, that quiet, consistent peace, outshines anything else. Because when a woman learns to stop performing and starts being, she becomes unforgettable. You can always tell when a woman hasn't let life harden her. She's lived, she's lost, she's learned, but she still laughs. She still smiles easily. She still finds something beautiful in an ordinary day. There's a spark in her that time couldn't dim because she never stopped being curious about life. That playfulness, that lightheartedness, it's not immaturity, it's strength. It's proof that even after everything, she's still choosing joy. And that choice, that willingness to keep her spirit soft in a world that can be harsh, is what makes her glow differently. You see, when you get older, you start realizing how rare that is. Most people lose their sense of wonder. They start taking life too seriously, carrying every mistake, every disappointment, like it's part of their identity. But a good-looking older woman knows better. She's learned that if you lose your playfulness, you lose your spark, and she refuses to let that happen. She still dances to her favorite song in the kitchen. She still teases the people she loves. She still lets herself be silly sometimes because she understands that joy isn't something you wait to feel. It's something you make room for. That playfulness isn't about pretending to be young. It's about staying alive inside. It's the kind of energy that keeps her eyes bright and her smile genuine. It's what makes people want to be around her because she brings warmth instead of weight. She doesn't drain a room, she lights it up. And that's not something makeup or fashion can give you. That comes from within. That comes from a woman who's made peace with her past and still believes there's more to look forward to. She's learned how to laugh at herself too. She doesn't take every little thing so seriously anymore. When you've lived through real challenges, you stop letting small things steal your peace. She can laugh at her mistakes because she knows they don't define her, they developed her. That kind of self-awareness wrapped in humor is irresistible. It's confidence without arrogance, wisdom without heaviness. She doesn't carry bitterness, she carries perspective. That playfulness also shows up in how she loves. She flirts without trying too hard, she jokes easily, she listens with interest, she stays present. She's not guarded, but she's grounded. She's not afraid to let her light show because she's no longer afraid of who she is. That freedom, to be herself fully, without apology, is a kind of beauty that can't fade. You can see it in the way she moves, the way she makes people feel seen, the way she's able to find fun even in quiet moments. And here's the thing, playfulness isn't about pretending life is easy. It's about knowing it's hard and choosing to find light anyway. That's courage. That's resilience. A woman who can still laugh, still love, still dream even after all she's endured. That's a woman who's truly beautiful. Because she's not defined by what's happened to her, she's defined by how she's chosen to live through it. She knows that youth isn't a number, it's an energy. It's in your curiosity, your joy, your openness to life. That's why she never stops growing, never stops laughing, never stops loving the little things. Her beauty isn't just in her face, it's in her spirit. Because the truth is, time can touch your skin, but it can't touch your light.